Hi everyone, this is Tracy Kiernan and I'm going to show you how to paint this couples landscape painting. I am doing this on an 11 by 14 inch canvas, so you and your partner will be doing the same size canvas. You'll both need a 3/4 inch wash brush, a number 4 round brush, and the following colors. You'll need Phthalo Blue, Titanium White, Mars Black, Dioxazine Purple, and Aqua Green. I also emphasize in this tutorial that you can use budget-friendly paints that are very similar to the shade of color that I'm using. So there's more information on that on my blog post about this tutorial. The first thing that we need to do is define our horizon line. And to do that, we're going to use painter's tape. And I'm marking off, it's going to need to be 4 inches up, but I marked at about 2 3/4 because of the way my painter's tape is. But you can mark at the 4-inch mark and then lay your painter's tape where the 4-inch mark is. So the horizon line is 4 inches up. And lay your painter's tape, try to get it as horizontal as possible. We are going to paint the sky first. So we're going to start at the top of the canvas and we're going to work our way down. And I'm going to start with these colors. I'm going to start with Phthalo Blue and Dioxazine Purple and Titanium White. So these 3 colors, blue, purple, and white, are loaded on my palette. And the first brush that we're going to use is this 3/4 inch wash brush. I'm going to load it in the water, and then I'm going to get a paper towel. So get a paper towel after you load it in the water and kind of pat it dry so that it's not dripping wet, but it's wet enough to get a little bit of water in that blue so that it helps to spread it when we start painting. So we're going to start at the top with the blue. This is the Phthalo Blue at the very top of the canvas. And I'm going to use my brush, my flat brush, the full width of the brush to paint horizontal strokes. You want to make sure that your paint is being applied evenly or as evenly as possible. You want to make sure that your canvas is not showing through, so cover up any of the white spots. You want to do long strokes. You want to smooth out those strokes so we don't have any short, kind of harsh strokes showing. So I'm painting over my strokes to smooth it out and to get it to be applied evenly. Then, so I loaded my brush. I went down about 4 finger widths, so about 3 inches, 3 to 4 inches. Loaded it in the Dioxazine Purple, and we're going to blend. So this is called wet on wet blending. I'm not mixing the color on the palette. I'm mixing it on the canvas. I'm going to gently stroke over that blue, and it is going to blend with the purple. Okay, and then I'm going to keep painting down. So the idea here is to get that blue to blend with the purple. So again, you apply the purple to the canvas, you gently stroke over the blue because the blue is still wet and it is blending with the purple. And I'm going to go almost all the way down here. The majority of this sky is purple, so there's a lot of purple here. Obviously the purple is mixing with the blue, so it's like a purple blue color. And then you can see what I'm doing. I'm just gently stroking upwards to blend that up. We don't want the purple to be, you don't want to over blend it, so if you keep stroking it, it'll all to the same color. Okay, so we're not going to rinse our brush, but we're going to use the paper towel to kind of wipe off any excess paint. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to load it in the white without rinsing it. And I'm going to apply that white a little bit below where that purple is. Blend it back up so the white is blending in with the purple. So the same concept of the wet on wet blending. So you just gently stroke it over the paint and get it to blend on the canvas. okay? And the idea is that the lightest color is like this glowing purple, light purple along the horizon line. So this white is getting lighter as it goes to the horizon line. Make sure your tape line is pretty tight in that area because we don't want it to seep under the tape line, okay? So we have a very light purple at this point, and it's okay if it looks a little streaky. It doesn't have to be blended all the way. Again, if you keep painting over it, it's all going to turn into the same color. So you don't want to over blend it, but you want to just blend it enough so that it looks like it's blending in. And then you can go back and load your color in the purple and the blue to do some touch-ups in there, but again, don't over blend it. We don't want it to all turn into the same color. We want it to look like it's blue, blended to purple, blended to a light purple. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do some touch-ups, loading it back in the purple and blending it back down. And occasionally you can wipe off your brush on paper towel to get the excess paint off. Sometimes I find it better just to wipe the paint off of the brush unless you're completely changing colors to a different palette. But rinsing it off with the water adds unnecessary water to the painting and it gets all drippy and might mess your painting up. So sometimes it's easier when you're blending to not rinse it off with the water, but just to get the towel and wipe off excess paint. Okay. So you want to make sure that everything's going pretty horizontal. You don't want any lines going diagonally or anything like that. And also, now is the perfect time to paint the sides of your canvas. So I went ahead and kept with the same colors. So I did the blue at the top of the side of the canvas. And I just use the full width of my brush and I just stroke it to paint the sides. There's not really a special way you're supposed to paint the sides. You just add the color. You can even just do the sides all one solid color. Some artists like to just do black around the sides or continue the painting on the sides. So it's up to you. Okay. And I'm just doing the sides where the sky is because when I do the turquoise water, I'll do the sides for that when that time comes around. But it's also nice to use up the rest of the paint on your palette because we will be done with these colors for now. Okay. When you are done with the sides, you'll need to rinse off your 3/4 inch flat brush. Get all the blue off as much as possible and pat it dry. Set it to the side for now. We're going to load our palette in titanium white. If you need to freshen your titanium white, add more of that, and bright aqua green. We're going to remove the painter's tape next. So gently pull it off and hopefully you have a nice straight line for your horizon line, and you can throw your painter's tape away because we're done with the painter's tape. We're going to do the water next, and the water consists of 2 colors and a third color that's going to be added in later, but for now we're going to start with titanium white. Using the 3/4 flat brush, I'm actually using the tip of it this time. So in the sky, I used the full width of it. This time I'm using the tip because I want to get as close as possible to that horizon line without ruining my nice straight edge. I didn't want to wait for it to dry and apply more painter's tape. I just figured it'd be a lot easier to go in and paint it. But basically, I'm applying this white all about a 1/2 inch across that horizon line, underneath the horizon line. And then I loaded my brush in bright aqua green. I'm going to gently blend that back up into the white so that it fades to a very, very light white color. So get it pretty close to that, but I like how it looks where there's a very nice white line right there in the way distance of the water. And then I'm going to paint down my canvas, and this bright aqua green is going to get, I guess you can say it's getting darker because there's less white on the brush. And now I can use the full width of the brush because I have a larger area to paint in. But I am also blending it back up very gently. I don't want to lose that nice bright white that's way in the distance. Okay, I'm going to go almost all the way down, and also don't forget about the sides. So I'm using the aqua green on the sides here, and I can even go back and add some white in my brush if I wanted to blend that back up into the white. I can do that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I guess I'll just use the aqua and not the white on the side. The fun thing about the sides is it really doesn't have to be too detailed. You can just add essentially kind of the color of what it looks like, and it looks fine. Okay, and then like I said, we want this aqua color to go almost all the way down, but I'm leaving about 1.5 inch gap on the bottom. You don't have to get your ruler and measure it, just it's kind of a guideline. Leave maybe like a 2-finger width at the bottom. Okay, so there's that white glow that's way in the distance. We want to leave that. We don't want to paint that over. And here's the third color that I mentioned. We're going to get this aqua to get darker, but I don't have dark turquoise with me. If you're using craft paint, grab a dark turquoise. So Tuscan teal was the color I actually recommended. But since we're doing this with Liquite's Basics, we don't have a dark turquoise. So I'm going to mix Phthalo Blue with the aqua, and it's going to make this darker looking turquoise. So I loaded the brush with aqua and phthalo, so about equal amounts, maybe a little bit more aqua than phthalo, but you can kind of test the proportion out. But blending it on the canvas, and you can see what's happening here. This phthalo blue is blending with the aqua to make the bottom part of the water darker, and then you can smooth out your strokes and blend it up so it really looks like the aqua is blending into that sort of teal color that we created. Okay, so there's a lot of blending in this painting, a lot of wet on wet blending, but it's pretty simple. The more you practice, the better you get with the blending. But if you're doing this for the first time, don't get frustrated if your blending is not coming out right. Just keep working the paint, keep stroking it over and blend it, but don't over blend it. Okay. And so we have this portion of our painting finished. Next, we're going to do possibly the best part of this painting is splattering stars in the sky. So there's several different ways you can do splatter paint stars, and I'm actually going to demonstrate it 3 ways. You can get your 3/4 flat brush, and you can see me applying it with my finger. This Liquite's Basics paint is kind of thick, so I'm going to water it down just a little bit with my finger. Right there, it's loaded on the brush. And then I'm going to tap it against one of these brushes, and you can kind of see what happens here. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more. So you got to get the proportion of water to paint just right so that when you tap it, the little splatters happen. And here we go. So this way you get a few different sizes. You have some kind of large ones. But you could also take your finger and you can flick that 3/4 flat brush, and sometimes flicking doesn't always work. You have to get just a little bit more water on there for it to flick, but be careful not to get it to splash. There's another way you can do this, and this is actually my preferred method of doing the splatter stars. You get an old toothbrush, and again, you want to I like to use my finger to apply it on there so I can get a little bit of water on there to get the right consistency. Always practice it off of your canvas to make sure that it's going to splatter and not drip on your painting. We don't want to mess our painting up. So here's a little close-up of what happens. So you can kind of angle it different ways. You can even do like a galaxy. You can see there's like a galaxy strip that happened. If you angle it, it splatters certain ways. So definitely practice it elsewhere until you kind of get the gist of how it goes on the canvas, and then go ahead and apply it to the canvas. So here are our paintings. So you and your partner both did the paintings. I actually had my husband do the one on the right. So he did the one on the right for this demo painting actually while I was doing it. So these next few steps, you'll need to put your paintings together because we need to get this moon in. And I'm going to go ahead and use my painter's tape circle to make this moon. We want this moon pretty, not on the horizon line, but we want to put it up a little bit higher so that it kind of shows with the trees, kind of a little bit above the trees. But you'll see what I mean in a second. So about 3 fingers above the horizon line, there's our circle. And you can use any circle that you find around the house. You can use a plate. If you have a compass, you can use a compass. So anything that is a circle, and it doesn't even have to be this size. It could be larger, it could be smaller. I guess this is about 5 or 6 inches. And I just used a pencil to trace this circle. Try to get it as even as possible, but if one side is more larger than the other side, that's okay. And we're going to switch to the round brush. I believe we're done with that 3/4 inch flat pretty much for the rest of this painting. So we're going to use this round brush next, and titanium white. So the first step in this moon is really simple. You and your partner are going to paint the circle, and you're going to paint your canvas, and your other half is going to paint their canvas. But I'm going to do both of them just because this is easier to do it this way. And so here's what I'm doing. So you're painting the circle. So the entire circle is painted white. So don't worry about shading or anything like that. We're going to add shading later to the moon, but right now it's just white. So really simple, paint it white. And then sometimes it helps to outline the shape first with your brush just to make sure that circle is nice and defined, and we don't want any of that pencil showing through. So get it all filled in, nice solid white, and we're going to be doing some wet on wet blending again, so we don't want to take any break anytime soon and let this white dry. We want to keep this white nice and wet. So make sure that all of the spots in the sky are nice and covered. We have a nice wet white circle. Okay, to do the shading in the moon, we're going to do wet on wet blending. I'm going to get my brush, and if you need to freshen up your purple and blue, because we're going to be using the purple and blue again, if you need to freshen up those colors, go ahead and do that. You saw me load my brush in the purple and kind of blended it out on the canvas, but this is purple and white mixed together. And I'm just going to kind of start on the bottom of my moon here with this purple and white combo. And I'm going to do the just kind of sort of curved strokes on the bottom of the moon. Add a little bit of blue in there as well. So I have blue, white, and purple on my brush now. And we're trying to do the shading in the moon. And I'm just going to do little cross-hatching strokes. Sometimes I call them X strokes, where you're just painting like crisscross almost. And this bottom of the moon is this sort of purple-blue combo, but it's relatively close to the same color that's in the sky. You can see our skies are different on both of the paintings, but the shade of the purple blue is pretty close to that color in the sky. And I'm just going to kind of paint upwards. So the moon is brightest on the top, and it gets kind of faded to purple blue on the bottom. And to create that texture looking thing, I'm just painting like cross hatching strokes. So just painting short strokes that are going sort of all different directions so that the colors blend together to create this moon. And then I can go up and add some more white on the top. And you also see me outlining the edge. That's important too. So you're doing the crisscrossing in the middle of the moon. But when you get to the edge, you want to really outline that edge. We don't want to do crisscrossing on the edge because then our moon will lose its nice crisp circle. We don't want to do that. Okay, so we have pretty much a moon that's shadowy on the bottom and bright white at the top. Okay, so that hard part is over. Now we're going to do something easy. We're going to rinse that round brush off and we're going to use just the titanium white. I'm going to paint a shooting star. So I have the round brush. I'm just going to do the tip of the brush. I'm going to paint a dot. Then I'm going to wipe my brush off and I'm going to do the trail. So when you wipe the brush off, you create this dry brush effect because there's not a lot of paint on your brush. So when you stroke it, it's nice and dry and it'll look kind of translucent enough to make it look like a comet or a shooting star. So again, to get that trail look, you have to wipe the brush off to get the dry brush effect. Okay, then I can take this further and do some heart constellations. So again, just using the tip of your brush, you're going to make little dots in the sky that form a heart. And I'm going to do that on both. Well, you are going to do it and your partner is going to do it. And you can get creative if you want a heart that connects in the middle. You can do that. We are doing a heart reflection in the water, so I didn't want to overdo it with the connecting things. But you can connect your constellations if you like that look, or you don't have to connect your constellations. That's up to you. I mean, technically the constellations are not really connected in the sky, but this is a whimsical theme painting, so anything can go here. I'm going to make my little dots a little brighter here. So again, you don't have to do this. You can have fun and think of some unique creative constellations to put in your sky or anyway. So this next step, we are going to be painting some trees. I loaded my round brush with Mars Black. Start at the top and stroke downwards. You're going to paint sort of each row of the pine tree and you're going to stroke down as you form the shape of the tree. So the tree is going to get wider as you work your way to the bottom. So keep stroking down with that Mars Black and then paint all the way to your horizon line. So each of these trees are just going to be resting on that line, that the paint line that we made in the very beginning. Okay, to make this look natural, you're going to need to do your trees of all different heights. So some trees are taller, some are shorter, and some will even be lighter in color. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. But for now, this does take quite a bit of time, so just kind of relax and take your time. If you're finding that your black is really not flowing very well, sometimes that happens with the black, especially I'm using the Liquitex Basics and it's a thick black. This doesn't happen with craft paint, so if you're doing this with craft paint, your flow should be just fine. But with this one, you might need to add just a little bit of water to it to get it to really flow, because it gets kind of dry and kind of thick and not really what we want with these trees. Not too watery because we don't want the water to run down the canvas, but just enough to get it to flow. So just continue to paint your trees. Some of them kind of overlap each other. Some of them are skinnier, some are wider, and some are gray. So to make the gray, you mix white and black on the canvas, and this will make it look like some of them are further away. So it's called landscape perspective. Things that are further away are lighter and things that are closer are darker. So this gives the illusion that there's some depth in these trees. Okay, so I'm going to continue on and paint all these trees along the horizon line. You and your partner are doing the same thing. You're going to meet in the middle. And then when you get to this moon, we definitely want some trees overlapping the moon because that looks cool in paintings when we have trees overlapping the moon. So definitely make some tall trees over here where your moon is. And if you want, you can even do a gray tree in there because that looks cool too. And let's see, we'll make this gray tree kind of in between these two black trees. Okay. And let's see, we'll just have this black tree overlapping this moon here. And then you and your partner will meet in the middle. If you want to do a tree, like a really big tree in the middle that divides your painting in half, you can do that, but I didn't do that for this painting. So I'm going to quickly do the same thing over here. And actually, I'm debating if I should fast forward it or just let you watch me paint these trees so that you can catch up with your painting as well. Sometimes my videos go a little bit fast because of the nature of videos, because sometimes these paintings take 2 hours to make and the video is not a 2-hour video. So a lot of times it gets sped up a little bit or it cuts to the next step. Okay, so I'm going to do this for a little bit just to let you get caught up here. And again, a nice variety of trees. The best thing about these couples paintings is that your style of tree will look different from your partner's style of tree. And that's okay. That's what we want. We want two different styles of paintings being put together because it really shows both of your personalities. And the really fun thing is that two paintings become one, and that's what makes couples paintings so special. Okay, I think I'm going to do a couple more trees and then I'm going to split into the next step. Here's something else that I wanted to show you. If you wanted to add a little bit more depth to these silhouette trees, get your gray and go in there over just the black trees and go from the bottom up and make more strokes. You can see adding the gray sort of branches over the black branches. It creates the look of depth in your trees. Okay, we're gonna do some reflection sort of thing. Actually, we're gonna do the ground line first. So to make it look like these trees are not floating on the water, I'm gonna use black and definitely add a little bit of water to this black to get it to flow. And just kind of paint, my ground was uneven on purpose. So just kind of a sort of a jagged line going all the way across. Then you can go in and do your reflection. So when you do reflections, you want to paint with just the tip of your brush and do these sort of zigzag, very loose strokes. I'm holding my brush very loosely here. And I don't want these black lines to take up too much of the water. I'm just going to do it very subtly right under each of the trees, just to give it a little indication that there's some tree reflecting into the water. I don't want to lose my pretty blue watercolor by adding too much black lines in the water. Okay, so that's all I did there. And then while I have this black ready to go, again, you see me adding more water to the black just to get it to flow a little bit better there. But I'm doing the bottom line. So there's a land line at the very bottom of the painting, and it goes all the way across, and it connects to the painting next to it. So it's an uneven line. It's not like a perfectly horizontal straight line. It's kind of rugged. And you're going to get that line to go all the way across the canvas. Also, you can paint the bottom of the edge of the canvas black, so you can have that wrap around the black, the sides of the canvas. Next, we're going to get all this black off of our brush and get it completely cleaned up and wet. So we're going to paint a heart with our wet brush. This is just so the water of the heart shows up on the canvas so that we can paint a reflection just in that shape of the heart, and the reflection becomes a heart shape. Obviously, the water is clear. It will dry clear, so it will go away and we won't even notice that we cheated that way. So what I'm doing with this is with just the titanium white, I'm doing little horizontal strokes to represent the reflection. So just the tip of my brush, little horizontal strokes. They could all be different lengths. Some of them are thinner, some are wider. Obviously, they have to be different lengths in order to fill in the heart. So don't go outside the lines of the clear water heart that you painted. Stay inside the lines as much as possible so that it will look like a heart reflection. Then you can go in and do more little lines all throughout the water. So we don't have just the reflection of the heart. We have more water lines with the white all around the water. So all this is horizontal lines of varying lengths, as horizontal as possible. Some are longer, some are thinner, and just with the white. So you can do that all throughout your canvas. You can even go in and add some more color in there if you wanted to dip your brush in a little bit of the bright aqua green. You can make some aqua lines in there. So you don't want to go too crazy because we don't want to lose that really pretty turquoise that we spent a long time blending. But just go in there and add a few lines until you're satisfied with the way that your water looks. And then if you want, you could even do some darker blue, and then you can do some touch-ups on your tree reflections. But that is basically it for this painting. This tutorial has come to its conclusion. I hope that you and your partner enjoyed painting this couple's landscape painting with me. Thanks for watching.